Yeah. One time, just what this happened just one time where we did a whole episode and I forgot to hit record. And about that last 10 minutes I finally hit record and I was so bummed. I turned pale white when I looked and seen there was no record button. We were getting really into a good topic too. We had a good convo going. Man, it was a good one and just bombed. I had to tell them, I was like, well, all that was really great what you all said, but I didn't record none of it. So we'll do a redo at some point. And of course, it never happened after that. They were like, wow.
Yeah. Cheat.
Amateur hour.
Amateur.
All right. All right, then. Yeah. Pretty
Funny.
goofy. Let's see
Yes,
here
sir.
now. Let me we hadn't recorded an episode in about a month and a half. So we're getting a bit behind. You know Aaron, right?
Mm-hmm.
But his internet went down. And guess he was short of funds. He has the Elon Musk, I guess, the Starlink or whatever that is. I don't know what you call it. Couldn't get the dough to get it going again. I said, man, we got to record, And every time he wants to record, I'm busy. And every time he wants to record, I'm busy.
Yeah.
So he just said, well, I don't know, just go solo. I said, what? It's not a solo show, though. There's always two people and a guest or two people. So he said, well, I don't know. I said, well, I'll figure it out. So I said, I know who's pretty chatty. Jason. I said, I'll get Jason. Jason's got some chats going on. He's got some insight and all that,
Yeah.
If you see him in the store, you're going to be in there too long. You're going to get in trouble because you didn't get the eggs back in time for whatever. For the muffins.
But chances are you're going to at least see him in the store.
High chance. There's a high chance he's going to be in the store. Yeah, in the cold pop or the warm pop aisle. You get the 12 pack.
Yeah.
It's warm. Yeah, he's there.
Hey, or the deli.
Oh, for sure. Well, that's the second stop or the first, depending on his hunger level. Yeah, so that song there is it sounds like an owl dance. Sound like it's from maybe the 50s. Hard to say. But again, I'm not sure who it is. I'm not sure the singers, the geography. Sound like Bloods though to me. I don't know. I just don't know. So hopefully someone perhaps. Yeah. See, you brought in both the academic and the tradition. So now perhaps is truly an academic word. Because you don't say maybe. Because then you sound like you're deep. You sound like you're from Pablo, deep in the res. If you're on the fringes,
I don't know.
I don't know. If you're on the fringes, and you got some mixed blood in there, and then you say perhaps.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe. I'll go both ways, maybe.
Yeah.
Depending on my mood, Yeah. Because you know how it is on the res. You kind of got to be a chameleon in a way. You have to adapt.
It's all about adaptation.
It is, right? It is.
It's about surviving in your environment, whether that be physical or whether that be, communal, intellectual, even.
Ooh. At first there, I thought you were going to go clockwise around the medicine wheel. Spiritual,
Emotional.
physical. I don't know the order.
No,
Is there an
no,
order?
we could throw a new one on metaphysical. We
Oh,
could,
there we go.
yeah, you got,
Let's come
yeah.
up with the new one. So, what would it be? Metaphysical. What does that
Could be,
cover?
well, metaphysical could cover the known and the unknown.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you. So
Okay.
as we work our way around the wheel of
Yeah.
medicine,
Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It touches on all of them. And then
I
metaphysical.
think so.
Hey,
I think
hey,
it's just a big dot then.
what you should do is get a shapeshifter on the show and you could really get into
We need a shapeshifter. It's a call out. Any shapeshifters listening to tribal research specialists, we want you on.
it.
we,
Yes.
we might even do a
Yeah.
special video version just so
Oh,
we
there
can
you
see the
go.
shape
Ooh,
shift.
ooh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we kind of shape shift that medicine wheel into a single dot, one pie.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's goofy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a question for you.
Sure.
Now you've been studying some what have you been studying? Leadership,
Organizational leadership.
organizational leadership. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's through what institution?
Grand Canyon University.
Grand Canyon University, organizational leadership, and whereabouts are you in your studies? Like
I'm I'm a, probably I'm one class away from graduating.
holy cow.
Yep. So if I after this week, I finish this week out, and then I have my last class.
Man, what are you gonna do?
Get rich, jokes. Hey, take over, jokes.
That's the
No,
funny thing with natives when you get a degree, there's not much else after that.
well, see
In
what's
a
funny
way.
is there's a person I know in the Flathead community here, and she was really big on posting her progress on social media,
Okay.
and she really celebrated when she finally got her degree, her master's degree.
Oh yeah.
And and what was funny is then immediately she got a job in another field,
Oh,
and
unrelated.
kind of pretty much unrelated.
Yeah.
And it baffled me. But you know, to each their own.
Right.
You really don't know what you're gonna do with your degree until you really get down and do it, I guess,
Right.
and
Right.
figure it out. But once I get my degree, what I figure I'm going to do is start keeping an eye on the possible prize.
Okay.
And the possible prize would be for positions that open up in upper management or executive management,
Ooh.
at the tribe,
Oh,
CSKT, and go for it, I guess.
you're brave, man.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
brave.
yes,
That
sir.
those are the pot shot positions, right? Those are the ones everybody's kind of lobbing kind of
Well, and
things
and
at. I don't know.
here's
Okay, let's hear it.
so here's the deal.
Yeah.
Soon, and it's happening now.
Yeah.
All the baby boomers are either on the verge of retiring or
Right.
they've already done it.
Right.
And there's a slew of them that are going to create a huge leadership vacuum
Right.
soon.
Right. Right.
Some of these people have been there 20, 30, 40 years, man.
Yeah. A long time.
Yeah, you know how they
Enough
give
to
out
pay
the
off a
Pendleton
home.
blankets,
Oh yeah.
hey, you've been working here for 20 years, you've been working for 30 years. And if you take a look at management and some of those upper positions, people have been there a long time, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
And once they go, what's going to happen to us?
Right. Yeah. No, you're right. Yeah, and I said that sort of sarcastically, about the,
Yeah. But
that's the
I
need
wanted to
though.
explain it, though. I wanted
Yeah,
to explain it because it's a matter of fact.
it is. It is. That's a very good point. And that's I guess that's one of the things that I guess folks hope for when they're encouraging their children or grandchildren to go to school is that just to fill some sort of void in in the chain of our tribal life, I guess, in many different ways. But those upper positions, yeah,
Yeah.
you're exactly right.
Let
And my
me give you an example
okay,
of when I failed this process.
okay,
Um,
the failure.
roughly 5 to 10 years, about 8 years ago or so. Um, I'm just going to name drop him. Dr.
Huh.
Frank Tyro
Okay.
uh, approached me
Mm-hmm.
and asked me if I would be interested in being mentored
Right.
to take over directorship of the channel at Salish Kootenai College,
SKC TV.
SKC TV,
Yes.
and which then at that time it gained a letter in the alphabet. It was KSKC
Oh,
TV,
right, right.
right? And I just didn't think I was ready. I
Okay.
just didn't think I was up for the task,
Right.
and I was a little apprehensive, and I think I gave him a hua,
Give him
and
the old hua.
and it never happened. And what ended up happening is he never found anybody else to fill his shoes.
Right.
And as you know now, the channel is no longer in
Right.
existence.
Right.
And so that was a lesson learned for me.
Yeah.
Hey, there's this leadership vacuum that
Yeah.
is happening just because of Father Time,
Yeah.
and all the people that you thought were going to be there forever are suddenly departing.
Yeah.
And so what do we do?
Right.
What I know about CSKT and the tribal organization, the whole organization as a whole, there are leaders, managers, division managers, department heads, executive directors. They are having these conversations about what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then I started looking at, you know what, you know, if you walk down the hallway, down the education department at CSKT,
Yeah. Oh, you cut out there, partner. You got that res internet. Got
ah,
that res internet.
here, let me try to move it closer to the modem here.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so
Um,
you're walking down the hall,
at the
CSKT education.
department,
Oh, department. Yes.
and they have all the tribal members' degrees
Right.
posted on the walls,
Right.
right? Starts out with the associates on one end,
Right.
your bachelors that follow that. And
Right.
then on the opposing wall, you have the master's degrees, and then you have your doctorates.
Right.
And I've been on the bachelor wall forever and ever.
Yeah.
And there's probably 50, 60, 70, 80, maybe 100 people with bachelor degrees, right?
A lot of
And then on the
bachelors.
opposing wall, people with master's degrees, you might have only 30,
Really?
30 or 40 max.
Wow.
And with people with PhDs, you have less than 20,
Wow.
right?
That's quite. Well, I don't know what it is compared to other tribes, but it seems small.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. It really does. And as a person that's had a bachelor's degree for gosh ever now,
Are you wearing it out?
I've yeah, I've looked at the wall of fame and was really envious of the other wall, right?
Oh yeah.
And I see my peers,
Right.
people that
Oh.
I know.
Oh
And
yeah.
as a matter of fact, we were talking about Jason. Jason's out there,
What the heck?
along with other people that I
Yeah.
grew up with and came up with and everything.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm feeling pretty shabby on this wall. Maybe I want to jump over on this wall. But
Right.
that's not the reason I got my degree. The reason I got my degree was because I felt like it was time. The
Yeah.
strike while the iron's hot,
Right.
and do it while I'm still young enough to have the motivation to do it. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're a man of education, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, how important and imperative it is for our tribal people
Oh man.
to
Yeah.
be educated
Yeah.
in whatever field.
Right.
Right.
Agreed. Agreed. So
Right.
this is a good place to insert the question I was going to ask you, because it touches on everything you sort of said. Um, did you freeze up again? Or are you just standing really still? You must have froze up. Who's your provider? You got to get your kids to get off their iPads. Yeah. Maybe if you're the old lady streaming some Walking Dead, maybe tell her to pause, throw in a video or something. Throw in an old DVD. If you got a VHS, dig that out. I don't know. Internet provider. Who's your internet provider?
Like I was saying, Spectrum, but
Uh,
yay for Spectrum. But like you said, everybody and their grandma's using internet in my house.
oh yeah, yeah. I had that issue in Arlie. Everybody have to go dark, go back to the
Well, I probably
1960s.
got a couple cousins. Probably got a couple cousins outside my house using my Wi-Fi.
Yeah. What's your password, man? I don't need to come in. I'm just, yeah,
Yeah,
let me
yeah,
check my
yeah.
Facebook.
I'll just park out here for a while, bro. Yeah,
Yeah.
won't bother you.
Because what's your Wi-Fi password? I don't want to come in. Well, you don't want to come in. Oh no, I'm just gonna check my Facebook real quick. Then I gotta go. All right. Goofy guy. Okay. So this is the question I was gonna
Yeah,
ask you after all that.
yeah,
Um, so if you think about part of the effort of tribal folks getting degrees is really to meet a need, sometimes a personal need, but sometimes they want to fill a role in the tribal government. They want to take tribes generally want to take our own affairs into our own hands, for the
sure,
most part,
sure,
but I think in a lot of ways, tribal entities, especially formalized tribal governments, trying to maintain a semblance of tradition, are really going to be confronted with this dilemma, if you will, of providing a serviceable government that meets modern things that tribal people expect, I guess.
yeah,
So we're confronted with that, and then also trying to balance bringing in some traditional models, and also maintaining a certain degree of, I guess you could say, the Catford colonial model, because we
sure.
don't live truly in a traditional society anymore, where a truly traditional form will work anymore. I think that's true. I don't know. It might be arguable. I could be wrong. I don't know. So we're balancing this desire to maintain certain traditions, but also to keep afloat this government that provides services in a particular, and maybe it's arguable, but in a particular colonial way. I don't know if you agree with that or not. If you don't, that's good. Then maybe you got some understandings I don't, because we like to say on this podcast, we don't know it all. We're just kind of bouncing ideas back and forth.
Sure.
So, how then do you foresee the future of tribal government, especially in your degree, the things you've studied, the things you know of your own cultural traditions, and those kind of things? How do you see a good balance of maintaining traditionalism while also maintaining this modernism that we've adopted and we've grown accustomed to?
As you said earlier, Shandin, it's a fine balancing act
Right,
for any formalized tribal government.
right,
We, all of us as Native people, whether you work in government or work for your tribe or not, you come to an understanding of of our people trying to keep one moccasin in the past to
okay,
to
yes,
maintain our tribal identity, to keep alive our tribal cultures and traditions,
Yeah.
and all that comes with that, languages and customs and practices, ceremonies, etc.
Yeah.
And then one moccasin in the future for the sake of our children and the generations after us.
Okay.
And as we stand in the present.
Okay.
And and
Wait
it's a
now. Wait now. So there's 3 legs? They
well,
got 3 legs.
no, it's kind of an apex. It's kind of
Okay. So one
okay.
moccasin in the past.
Okay.
One
One in the
moccasin. I'm
future
just kidding.
as we
Double check.
stand in the present, right?
Okay.
And we always have to have some sort of placement there if we want to maintain our tribal identities as a
Mm-hmm.
tribal people, and as to keep ourselves culturally and traditionally afloat,
Yeah.
along with keeping our eye on what's to come.
Right.
We as Indian people, or Native American people, however you want to say, indigenous creatures, we as indigenous populations, we we don't control the scheme of things around here anymore. And so
Yeah.
we always have to have an eye out on to see what's coming.
Okay.
If you're going to be a wise people, you don't want to get sideswiped by, let's say, governmental legislation,
Right.
where there are local or regional or national laws
Yeah.
that are presented to Congress or whatnot that are detrimental to our people, who
Right.
we are, our land base, so on and so forth.
Right.
So with the balancing act, how do I see what let's go back to the question again.
Okay.
What how did you phrase that?
So maintaining a modern serviceable government, right? Which
Right.
I think we could argue whether that includes colonial structures or traditional structures. We don't know, but we're accustomed to having a tribal
Sure.
health. We're accustomed to having an education department. Things compartmentalized
Sure.
into these
Sure.
things.
Sure.
So to maintain that, but also, like you said, this piece about identity that includes a whole slew of things, traditions,
So,
customs, norms.
so there's a phrase that I came across in my studies that I think really pertain to our tribal people.
Okay.
Like I said, whether we work in government or
Right.
whether we work for a grant, or whether you work down at the grocery store or the trading post per se.
Yeah.
And that is de- developing and improving your cultural competencies.
Right.
And I
Yeah.
fully feel that any worker that lives on, or uh, let's just say on a reservation, or for a Native American organization,
Right.
like, they're not always on reservations. For example, in Butte, you got the Butte Indian Center.
Right.
But don't you think it would be important, even if they don't live on a reservation, there's still a native population to be served, for those workers to have a certain cultural competency
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
to be able to serve their people?
Right.
And so that aspect right there of improving and developing cultural competencies for tribal workers, whether they're tribal or not, I think is essential
Yeah.
in the answer of how do we maintain this? Um, how do we balance this?
Right.
And so I think right there, we can really find some improvements and find a little bit of hope
Right.
of fine tuning and polishing organizations that serve tribal people.
Right. Let me jump back a little bit here because you said something that was really important. And I hear it often, and we all hear it often about identity, right? So we want to maintain our identity. I hear that quite a bit. It's really important. But one of the questions I have about that, specifically pertaining to this idea of this tribal government that we have now, do our identities evolve? or are we stuck with a certain type and we have to maintain that moving forward?
That's a great question. I believe that's personal.
Okay.
That boils down to the individual. Do you have the desire to maintain a tribal identity, or are you comfortable with the status quo? Okay,
Okay.
whatever the status quo is.
That's
Some
yeah.
tribal communities and tribal organizations are more cultural and more traditional style in look and feel than others.
Okay. Yeah.
Right or wrong,
Yeah.
or perhaps.
Yeah.
And so that's all arguable, but it, how do we truly do that? What sort of programming do we develop? What sort of functions are we going to deem acceptable at a tribal organization that would allow us and help us to do that? I can give you a couple examples. Uh,
Okay. Let's do it.
recently within this past year, a tribal member from the Arlee area
Yeah.
who's become very proficient in the Salish language,
Okay.
has proposed teaching language classes
Yeah.
to tribal workers at work during certain times of the day.
Right.
And what has happened is that has become acceptable, and
Okay.
people can either use their breaks or they can get a change of duty,
Right.
especially from, and you go to individual managers.
Right.
Your, is your manager going to allow that?
Right. 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 Oh, somebody's downloading another episode. Somebody's wants to watch a little Big Bang Theory. They're downloading it right now. Cut you right off. You're on a roll. God darn it. See what happens. See if he rolls back in. Just open that door and give a good yell. Get off that internet. I don't know. I don't know what the speed there. You're where? Yeah, you're in. I think you're in Polson. You should be able to get a decent speed in Polson. They just did you get the low package? He's still on the introductory package. You got the I don't even know what it is, like a gigabyte. No, a gigabyte's a lot. Are you still in are you still in megabytes? You must have got the cheap package. I was uploading these podcast episodes in Arlie, and it would take 4 to 6 hours to upload an episode. When I got here to Vancouver, they upload in maybe a minute and a half. That's fast. That's super fast. We're unaccustomed to that. Unaccustomed to. Did you yell at him? Did you yell at him? Yeah, yeah. You're on
Yep.
mute.
Yep. Went and yelled at everybody.
Come on, just saying something cool. Okay, so let me get back to this. What you were just saying, because so the reason I was saying this about identity, right? So the way I see identity, and I'm maybe a little bit off. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying identity is something that's affirmed and shared, or I would say maybe co-created amongst, say, a tribal people. My identity depends on my neighbor. Their identity depends on their neighbor. So having
Okay.
this an alignment of identity seems to be an important thing, because then in a way we all see each other as very similar. So what I was more getting at was our idea of identity. Is that allowed to change to meet the needs of today? So an example would be when the horse came. When we first got the horse, our identities sort of changed. We became more mobile. We engaged in more warfare. So the what we were, what embodied us, sort of changed a bit, and we adapted to it, and we just moved forward and didn't think about, well, we need to get back to the pre-horse times. Our ancestors didn't think that. I don't think anyway. Even we gotta remedy this situation because our youth don't know what it's like not to have a horse. I don't think that was the thought. It was just this natural progression to allow an identity which is filled with many things to change. So I'm thinking today we have this form of government that was really sort of placed upon us, but became a necessity as we moved into a more modern world. Are our identities allowed to change because of that?
I think, I don't even think it's, me personally, it's not something that is allowed or isn't allowed.
Right.
It's something that just happens.
There you go. Yeah, I think you're right there. Yeah. Now the real Pat Matt's coming out. I don't want to talk to the organizational leadership Pat Matt. Let's talk to the real Pat Matt. He's in there. Okay. We're dragging him out. We're dragging him out a little bit. Yeah, I want to hear what you think. Yeah. No, you're right though. You're right. Yeah. So my choice of words were not, a little off, but yeah, we are who we are just because of the circumstances that we're in.
The circumstances that we are in and the way that people react to the circumstances.
Right.
And that's, I got to take it back to the leadership though.
Okay.
It's really, people follow the leader.
Right.
They follow leaders.
Naturally.
Naturally.
Yeah.
And us as tribal people, we've been following our leaders since time immemorial. We venerate our leaders. We kind of put our hope and our stock in our chiefs, our sub chiefs, the people that seem to have the talent to know what to do and handle circumstances when they arise. Right.
Yeah.
And so now, as we've come to this moment in time where we are all pretty much organized in these, the way you would say it, these colonial systems, with that were forced or not forced upon us.
Right.
It's up to us, I feel, to put our own stamp on it and make it ours.
Yeah.
I truly feel that.
Yeah.
In order for us to survive as self-governing, self-sufficient, sovereign people, we have to make it ours.
Right. We've said it on this podcast many times, is we take what works. We take what works, what seems to work, and what doesn't work, we just cast it aside.
Not always, though. Not always.
You're right. No, you're right. Yeah.
We got a lot of dysfunctional systems out there. We got a lot of broken systems.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we just adopt, whatever model or system that's available and say, hey, these guys do it. Here's the laws and bylaws, policies and procedures. Let's just put our tribal logo over it and roll with it.
Why does that happen?
It's easy.
Because it's easy. Yeah.
Because it's easy.
Yeah. You don't have to, yeah.
But
you don't have to form a committee.
But there was a time, I think, when self-governance, when it was just baby and brand new, right after the IRA, Indian Reorganization Act, right?
Yeah.
CSKT, first tribe to formulate a tribal constitution, laws and bylaws. And
what year was that? Do you know?
1935.
1935. Yeah.
Year after Congress ratified the IRA, we were literally first out of the gates.
Yeah.
Okay. But and for any tribe that did it after that, it was brand new. We adopted the council system versus the chief system.
Right.
We started running things like, the Great White Father, and everybody in DC, and okay, if it works for them, it's going to work for us.
Right.
But for a lot of tribes, I think self-governance, as shiny as the phrase sounds, is and maybe was and still is intimidating.
Okay.
And like
in the form that it's presented.
In the form that it was presented.
Yeah.
And at that time you had a lot of really thick, heavy racism. And probably a lot of objectors and a lot of people saying in the surrounding world, and even in a tribal community like ours, where we're the minority
Right.
on our own reservation,
Right.
where a lot of people might have been saying, no, don't do it that way. You have to do it this way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of people telling you what to do. The BIA, Boston Indians around. Right?
Right. Well, did you know that in the early 1910s there was two fractioning committees? I don't know if you studied
Yeah.
that. Yeah. There was a Flathead Business Council, and then there was more what they thought was more an official tribal, more of a tribal council, or I can't remember what they called it. A business committee and then a tribal council.
Right. And that's a conversation in itself right there.
Right.
Do we have a tribal council or do we have a tribal business committee?
Yeah.
And that's the argument right there.
Right.
That's something to be discussed right there.
Right.
And the way, so me personally,
Okay.
I feel that they kind of got to be a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Because our tribal council, our leaders are basically, I don't know, I'm not going to use the word lightly, but you, I don't know if you could call people chiefs these days or what, but they are our leaders.
Yeah.
You have to know something about the way things work in the world to be able to lead the people.
Right.
I truly feel that. But at the same time, have enough traditional values to be able to guide us as a tribal organization and to be able to lead in a way to where people can look at us and say that's a tribal organization, led by tribal leaders.
Right. Yeah, we could elect Al Gore onto the tribal council, but he's I get really a great leader.
Bernie, dog. Bernie
or Bernie or anybody.
We're gonna adopt Bernie.
Any politician, and they're gonna know governance, they're gonna know procedure, policy, law, all that.
Chairman Sanders.
So this leads to this next thing you talked about developing cultural competency. Now this is one we've talked about a number of times on previous episodes.
Yeah.
And first of all, we've established that nobody really has cultural loss, because the act of living and being in a society is predicated on the idea of having a culture. But what's, I think, missing is expressions of traditions from past generations. So this is the question I had when you said that piece about, okay, we need to develop cultural competencies. Well, the big question then is really, who defines what cultural competency is?
Well, around these parts,
okay,
you would have to look at the committees. You'd have to look at the culture committees,
okay,
and to see and take a look at and most likely draw from what they have,
okay,
what they teach, what they promote, what they think is important,
right,
as cultural knowledge.
Okay.
Borrow from that, use that. The problem is sometimes the committees, and I don't know if Cheney and them guys are going to be listening to this or not, but sometimes they're not always open to share the information and disseminate it in a way that could be, let's say, helpful for all.
Right.
And rightfully so. I can understand that we've had so much taken from us considering culture and tradition that I understand the need to protect.
Yeah.
Okay. But at the same time, a person like me would ask, wouldn't it benefit everybody, our entire organization, if we created and instituted cultural competencies into the workforce, teach them, require them, actually require it. Yeah. Hey, you're a Californian that just moved to the reservation. 25% of our workforce is non-tribal. One of these guys get a job. should we not require them to learn and understand our people, learn about and understand our people so that they can better serve the tribal population?
Right.
Or is it going to be hot and cold?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that was something that I ran into. I ran into a wall a couple years ago. I was the tribal social services department when I worked there was
Right.
asking me to develop a presentation like a PowerPoint, a cultural presentation that would be helpful in teaching our social workers cultural competencies to better serve the tribal people.
Right.
And so I started going with it, and naturally I reached out to the culture committees and ran into an immediate.
Oh, paused up there. A little pause. Somebody's playing a little bit too much Candy Crush. Or maybe, just maybe, old Uncle Rico's parked out in the garage. Pull up in the driveway. He knows your password. He's talking to his honey through the Facebook talk or whatever that is. Facebook talk. Yeah, he's got his Facebook call to his honey over in Usk. Maybe he's got two honeys. Maybe he's got one on hold. And the other one he's talking to, she's from Whelping It. And the other one's from Usk. And they're both kind of having a chat, video chat, even. Video chat. That takes a lot of Wi Fi. Okay. So this is the thing you said. You said you got this ask to do some cultural competency. One of the problems is, yeah, you want to do it through a PowerPoint. That's not your problem, but problem is that's the expectation to deliver a cultural competency through some high quality presentations. Well, that's a start, right? But
Right.
so you're developing these presentations. Naturally, you go to the culture committee. So what happened?
Well, like I said, I was vetted. Who, what, when, where, why.
Right.
What are you going to use this for? Who are you
Right.
going to teach it to? So on and so forth.
Right.
Was emailed the form, and the form wasn't. I said exactly what I needed it for these purposes and what
Right.
we've been talking about.
Right.
And it just wasn't received well, and it didn't get approved right away. And I needed it done. It was time expedient.
Yeah.
And I had to move on without him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had to gather my own information and look for my own sources and so on and so forth, which is possible. You got the Three Chiefs Culture Center, you got the internet, you got family stories, you got photos that people have of their own, and so on and so forth. And so I did.
Yeah.
I moved forward without him, but obviously everybody doesn't put stock into what improving cultural competencies can do for an organization.
Right. Right.
But of what I feel that it does is it improves relations, of course, between the organization and the people. Yeah. But it also can do not a greater thing, but another great thing, which is to improve the policies and the procedures within the organization itself.
Right.
To be able to create some policies around this where it's required learning, where it's part of the initial training process.
Yeah.
Where it's part of the reception process for new employees, tribal or non-tribal. And you know this as well as I do. There are a lot of tribal people themselves, ourselves, that really don't know much about who they are, where they come from. Even on this own reservation, if you're Salish versus Ponderay versus Kootenai, you ask some kid at Two Eagle, they may not know what they are, and they just say, I'm Salish Kootenai.
Yeah.
And literally, you get that a lot.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
You really do. And imagine all the people that are working in the workforce and that have been there like 10, 20, 30, 40 years, there are a lot of people that will say the same thing.
Yeah, they got a couple penalties from their service. Yeah, they're going to say the same thing.
Going to say the same thing. Yeah. And that's not everybody.
Yeah.
That's not everybody. But like, as I feel, and it goes back to the conversation we were having 20 minutes ago, that it starts with the individuals.
Let's take a quick second to get a shout out to our Patreon sponsors. Our $5 donors, we've got Julian Peterson, Heather Sabrepena, I think that's how you say it, Mary Bobbitt, Jason Friage. We've got Ryan Swanson, Emma LaFave. Also included with a $2 donation is Marzena J, Rachel Holster. And then on the $15 donations, we've got Luella Bryn. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And in addition to that, we have our other $15 sponsor, Dylan Shields. Our $25 sponsors, thank you very much to Wild Gallery and Ray Donnelly. Jump on over to Wild Gallery, check out his website, check out what he's got. Thank you, Ray Donnelly. And also, Travis Davis. Thank you for your continued sponsorship of the show. Thank you to all our Patreon sponsors. Right. Mm-hmm. I understand that when you said that a little better now, what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So this is the thing, and it's problematic. We all know it. Everybody knows it. When you put I shouldn't say this. So I don't mean this to cover everything. And in some instances, when an organization puts the responsibility of tradition and cultural propagation in the hands of a small group of people, you run a danger of, number one, significant amount of loss, because, well, in a way, if we get lazy and say, well, I'm going to shuffle that off to those people, they're going to do it, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
But then you run the risk too, just because we're humans, where we're subject to the vices of the world. And, we might, get struck with some greediness or some maybe overcautious behavior to try to, out of the guise of protection. Then we run the danger of cutting off access to things that people ought to know. And that the convergence of those two things can spell quite a danger for the living, breathing part of what we would call a cultural thing or a tradition that's strong in a community. So I think this manifests well in tribal government, because that's like, so the first and foremost thing when people think about tribal government is not that it's modeled after colonial systems or federal systems. They more think, okay, tribal government must be some sort of traditional thing. There must be some manifestation of tradition in there. But what is the tradition? And I think there's always a call to make it stronger. But how do we do that when we're faced with our own people saying, no, we can't teach that, we can't let that out, because somebody might, I don't know, what are they going to do, sell it or something? I don't know what the fear is to be and to teach tradition, even if it's to non-native people, because that helps broaden people's understanding of how we are. That part I don't quite get. I get it, but I don't get
it. I think that the impact has more positive ramifications than it does negative.
Yeah.
Because I really think building an understanding between cultural groups can do amazing things between people. The part of the reason that, well, I guess one of the main the fuel for racism I feel is fear.
Yeah.
I don't know you. I don't know what you're about. I
Yeah.
don't know this stuff at powwows. I don't know this stuff that I hear about ceremonies and this and that.
Yeah.
And I just don't know it. And I don't know if that's a danger to me or to my culture or not.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna put some negative energy on that.
Yeah.
And we call that racism or
Yeah.
whatnot. But I feel that the positive ramifications far outweigh the negative
Yeah.
because creating understanding between culture groups creates commonality, and commonality produces friendships,
Right.
produces, hey, I kind of know about this a little bit, and those guys ain't that bad. And people
Yeah.
can end up arguing for us that we don't even know,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so I really think the positive ramifications is it could help and heal communities.
Yeah. Agreed. So what's the answer then to this dilemma that we have amongst our own people of this guarding of things, guarding of understandings, this bureaucracy of approval. So I can't talk to my grand folks because I might need an IRB because they might think I'm maybe trying to do some research or something. It gets to this goofy layers of bureaucracy to try to learn something. It's kind of goofy. I mean, I don't know.
My first answer is going to be I don't know. The second, but the second answer goes into a experience that I had with Q喱,
Okay.
uh, Johnny R. Lee,
Yeah.
and I interviewed him one time on a small powwow documentary,
Yeah.
and we he was asked what could improve the R. Lee celebration,
Yeah.
and he said, I even think he might have said he didn't know at first, but then he said to tear down the powwow grounds and start back over again,
Yeah. Yeah.
and to create everything into a circle,
Yeah.
to a nice big circle, because that's the way it used to be in the old time.
Yeah.
We used to camp in the circle. The teepees used to face in a circle,
Yeah.
and then he said in the circle was the drum,
Right.
and that was the heartbeat of the people.
Right.
And so for some of this bureaucracy and some of this stuff, first, I could come up with a lot of ideas, and I want to talk about this leadership model if we're going to have time
Yeah.
that might help.
Okay.
But I just go with Johnny and say, tear it all down and start it all over again.
No, sometimes that's just the way to go. You just got to hit the reset. I
Yeah.
believe that sometime. And I remember having a conversation with him about the same thing because he's spread that word quite a bit. And
Yeah.
even there was an instance where there was a building that was trying to get built, tribal building, and there was an advocacy for it to be in a more traditional structure, brown. But I guess
Mm-hmm.
somebody on the committee was concerned about how difficult it would be to clean. And so so it got scrapped and it was made into a square.
Hey,
You know,
hey, hey, we sell Indian tacos. The committee sells Indian tacos for stuff like that,
oh
man.
my God,
People
yeah.
get paid for that.
Goofy. Yeah. So I don't know. There's a lot of things to talk about in that, what is the what sort of cultural competency do folks need? To what level do they need? That does we I feel we need some information. I don't,
Sure.
and maybe I don't know if anybody's done it or has conceived of it, but where are we at? Where's the benchmark for us right now? What's the baseline data for what people know and what we think that's important to know? Because I think even you and I might disagree on what we think is important. Your neighbor might disagree on what we think is an important thing, but I don't think we have that yet. But I don't know if that would help. I just don't know. But my curiosity lies in that. What do people know? What does the membership know? What do they not know? What do we need to know that's going to help us to affirm that identity for ourselves. So you mentioned this leadership model that you said might, unless you have some commentary on what I just said.
Well, and I think that's really a whole, like, another show,
right,
on what we think is important enough to really break down and teach if and so a tribal organization was innovative enough to even implement it.
right,
Because right now, as far as we're concerned, you and I, and what we know about CSKT and the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes, there's a zero benchmark.
right. Yeah.
You can come in cold and just start going and, hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And that's it. The only cultural competencies you're going to learn is by someone who may be friendly enough or mean enough to teach it to you.
Yeah, that's pretty key. Friendly or mean. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. And even then, you're not sure how accurate that might be.
Right. Because of the individual.
Yeah.
Because the individual and how far they've come. How far they've come.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, like I said, the development of something like that would really lie in the hands of the people that choose if they want to do that or not.
Yeah.
And then they would develop that on their own. Well, they're going to need to learn some history. They're going to need to learn, some cultural pathways of how we do things around here.
Yeah.
Some cultural appropriations. What do you do when you're invited to a native home and you're offered food? The simple things.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't get too complex.
Yeah.
Unless that person, after whatever amount of time, want to take it there.
Yeah.
Or like I said, or if someone's friendly enough to teach it to them, or mean enough to rebuke them if they disrespect an elder, openly disrespect an elder or something.
Yeah.
So or brave enough. We'll put it that way, brave enough. Okay. Someone might say golly enough. Oh, now just golly. No, but so if we take it, so that's policy. That's a policy issue.
Okay.
Are you going to write it into policy or not? You're going to put it into action or not?
Yeah.
That's just something. It's you're going to do it or not.
Yeah.
But this organizational leadership model that I think would help in this situation, and it goes back to the original question, what you talked about, how we balance.
Yeah.
How we balance the old, how we balance the present. What does that look like? Are there any answers? And for us here at CSKT, we have a tier-based leadership model.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So smartly, rightfully so, on top of the tier, we got the tribal population.
Okay.
Directly under the tribal population, you got tribal council.
Okay.
Directly under council, you got the executive directors. Under the executive directors, you then have your department heads. Under them, you got your division managers. Under them, you got your program managers.
Yeah.
And then under them, you got your case managers, and then your floor workers, your personnel, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
And, it's a flow system.
Yeah.
And it seems to have functioned, and there's positive and negative things to be said about it.
Right.
But when I was writing about it, I was like, why can't we bring it down, instead of a tier-based model, a circular model?
Okay.
Okay. Inside the circle, the people.
Okay.
The focus, the people who we serve.
Okay.
And then right around them, we have the decision makers.
Okay.
And then outside of them, you have your workers, your innovators, your people that boots on the ground.
Okay.
And then around them you have your fringe workers and your different grants and this and that, whatever.
Okay.
And so around the tribal people, the decision makers, I feel it doesn't have to all be council the way we do it now, where everything is brought up to the table
Yeah.
of the tribal council, and then you guys say yes or you guys say no.
Right.
And what I propose is that in this centric model, that the decision makers also include your executive directors, your people that control or manage finances.
Okay.
You know, your top fish, your biggest fish, you know, in the tank there.
Yeah.
But then you also have your people that are full of cultural competency.
Okay.
And those number of people out there, they share the decision making so that it all just doesn't lay on the people that we elect every 4 years.
Yeah.
Because they come and they go, you
Right.
know.
Right.
And so to me, and it goes back to what Johnny said, that in that interview, the reason he would tear it down and start it and build it back up again is because Indian life is in a circle.
Okay.
And so why can't we govern ourselves in the same way?
Right.
In the same sort of model now. It's arguable whether that is in place or not, but I really don't think it is, just from my observations. But it's an idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's it. That's that leadership model I wanted to talk about. You know, is it viable? Would the tribes be willing to tear down and start it all over, you know, build it back up again?
Yeah.
You know, because change is
Yeah.
hard.
It is.
And
It is.
especially in an organization that's been doing things the same way for so long.
Yeah.
You know, you come in as an idealist or you come in as an innovator, you're going to have a hell of a time.
Yeah.
Hell
Yeah.
of a time trying to make changes. And
Yeah.
see, that's what we always talk about every election cycle. We want change. We want change. And, you know, everybody says that. They really do. And it always goes back to the same old, same old.
Yeah. Yeah. What is that?
It really
That's
does.
weird. Yeah. So this is the thing. So the thing you described, the two models, I mean, it's, you could argue that, well, the one is fairly linear, right? The what we have now. Population,
right.
tribal council, executive, division, program. I mean, it's very, very, very linear. The other one you described, I guess I don't quite see the circularity in it, I suppose, because it seems like the same thing, right? The people, the decision
seems like the same thing, but the difference is in the decision making.
Okay.
Where it's not just brought to the table. You're sitting in front of 10 council members.
Yeah.
Trying to convince them or inform them or sway them into what sort of decisions. And so many times, Shandin, great ideas, or any idea really, but great ideas,
more so the great
to
ones.
make my point, good or great ideas, they get tabled because the council doesn't feel that they have enough information, or that there's not, they need to talk to the other people first before they can even make a decision.
And that kills it right there.
And that's it. So put those people there.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because think about it. Our chiefs back in the day when we counseled, if you put it in your mind and put it in my mind, they're all sitting in a teepee. There's the chiefs, but there's their advisors. You got your sub chiefs.
Or under a tree.
At Council Grove.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
With the government official.
With the whole,
condescending you.
Oh yeah. Okay, I get it. And this was the question.
So you see the centric, you see how that would change, and then the power flows out instead of flows down. Because what happens when it flows down is that you run the danger, and it's a very reality that there's a lot of power and control.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the human. That's the humanness that
That's the
can run
humanness
awry.
of it. Oh, I'm above you.
Yeah,
See, I'm above
yeah,
you on the flow chart. You're below me.
yeah. I'll fire
You have
you.
to listen to me,
I'll write you up.
write you
I'll
up.
Yeah. I'll do whatever.
But in the circular model, if you put all those people sort of on the same playing field,
Yeah,
maybe you can eradicate a lot of that. And
yeah.
like I said, it's just an idea.
Right, right, right. Yeah. So this is the thing. Um, when you said that about the decision makers and the cultural competencies, those kind of things. So right now, as it stands today, you don't have to know one thing about the traditions and the history of the CS and KT to get elected onto tribal council. It's not a requirement.
There's really not a set list of requirements.
Yeah,
Basically the requirement is that you are a tribal member.
yeah,
You've lived in your district that you're running
right,
in for at
right,
least a year,
right,
and that you don't have a felony.
right. Those are the
That's
things.
it.
That's it.
No
Yeah,
culture, no tradition, no language, no participation in something else
yeah,
that would qualify you
yeah, yeah.
as a tribal leader.
Right, right, right.
Basically, ambition qualifies you these days. It's ambition.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So in that particular way, it that is quite different from the traditional model where chiefs were elected on their, not necessarily because there was never a question of your competency in your cultural pursuits. That in the old days, that was never a question. I wouldn't think it was more based on your successes, like your maybe you had some really great war deeds. Maybe you're a really good orator of things. You can convince
Yeah,
people of things. You're proven to make decisions that produce good results.
yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that
That makes
seems
sense.
that seems to follow suit with sort of how it is today. But the only thing missing is that a lot of the reasons why a person would have those particular skills, those particular values and virtues that was found in a chief in the old days was because of their immersion in a functioning cultural organism that
Yeah,
celebrated those particular virtues.
yeah.
I don't think we have that today. Nobody
No,
celebrates someone when they're really good and honest. As a tribal people, and there's no venue to celebrate people for that.
you might get a good little head nod,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Somebody might
but
say, "Oh, that
yeah,
that guy's a
nothing.
pretty stand-up guy,"
Yeah,
etc.,
yeah,
etc. And that might bleed into some people's reasoning for voting for certain people for tribal council. But I guess
yeah,
my I guess the thing I get hung up on when we talk about like trying to teach or disseminate cultural competency is that in a way it feels inauthentic, if you know what I mean. Like we're trying to package something and hand it off to someone in an environment in which maybe that thing doesn't belong. Whereas if they develop cultural competency in a more natural fashion, they would have done it since youth. They would have been involved in certain things out of
yeah,
their own volition, but not a lot of people were afforded that luxury because of boarding school, the all kinds of stuff, that that contributed to the assimilation into more of a non-indigenous or non-native way of thinking. So I have a struggle. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying I have a struggle with seeing how that could come about. Like how can we teach cultural competency? Number one, we have a problem with even allowing people to learn about traditions because of the bureaucracy of committees and those kind of things. Number two, it seems difficult to replicate authenticity in order for someone to embody a traditional and cultural pursuit that would seem to mirror what our ancestors had or did. So that I have trouble seeing that. I'm for it. I think it's something that we need to figure out, but I have trouble seeing it. And
you
maybe
know,
you have some ideas on or seen some examples of how that worked.
like I said, I tried developing something that was palatable
Yeah.
to not only the tribal person that has lived on the reservation their entire life versus your immigrant from California.
Right. Right.
Okay.
Meeting the need of the
And
audience. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so with that broad of a scope of an audience,
Yeah.
it the information would have to be broad
Yeah.
at
Yeah. Yeah.
first. It would have to be broad. And what I would suggest is what it would look like, what it would make it more authentic for people like you that have whom I feel have a real strong foundation in cultural competency is that it comes in levels, comes
Yeah.
in doses.
Yeah.
Here's your intro,
Yeah. Yeah.
here's your intermediate,
Yeah. Yeah.
and should you work for us long enough, here's your long term,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and so on and so forth. Like education is a lifelong journey. You know
Right.
that, I
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So why shouldn't it be for people in the workforce,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
tribal workforce?
I agree. I agree. I can see that what you're talking about. And I know there's been efforts done in the past. I know they had a language class for complex employees, and it was pretty under attended and slowly faded. So there's that also that factor too is interest. A lot of people, they don't want to know. They don't care to
Yeah,
know. And I think policy that prescribes that someone ought to know something, then it starts to bring out the American in us, well,
yeah,
that's my right. This is my right. This is all about me and my right to do what I want, you know?
yeah.
But
Well,
then on the other
that's
hand,
what.
okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, that's when you come up with crafty ideas,
Yeah.
where you trick people with incentives.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah. Gift cards.
and I firmly, I firmly believe that incentives, really can help organizational change
Yeah.
for to motivate people. Are
Yeah.
they necessary? No. Can it be even an insult to where, look, I have to give you a free Indian taco for you to learn something about us? No, it could be insulting,
Oh,
but at the
boy.
same time, there's ways.
Yeah.
We're still evolving,
Yeah.
and these are the questions that come up in the midst of it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's it.
That's it right there. I think you hit it on the head right there. We're in flux, man. How long have we had this form of tribal government? Not even 100
90
years. Not even 100
coming,
years.
not even 100 years, 90 years.
Yeah. We've
Coming up on 90 years.
we've been we've been we've been badgering people who get elected to tribal council for less than 100 years about getting stuff done. We're
What's funny
babies
is
at
there's
yeah.
this one tribal member, and I'm not going to name drop him
Okay.
because this is funny.
Okay.
He's been trying to get on council for the last maybe 2 cycles, maybe
Yeah.
3,
Yeah.
and his biggest thing is he thinks what's going to get him there is if he complains his way to the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
And since that's not working, now he's getting pretty proficient at making council memes.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Well,
Well, you never know. That might work.
yeah. Well, if I can't complain my way to the top, then I'm gonna laugh my way to the top.
Oh my
Um,
God.
I'm I'm gonna insult
Yeah.
you till I get to the top.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then what are you gonna do with your memes, man? You gonna start making memes about the people? You start making fun of the people?
You got to keep the laughs going.
You gotta keep laughs going somehow.
Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, there's a lot of things, man, and I think you summed it up there at the end. We're babies, and
Yeah.
and everyone who sees the past of how, I don't know why. This is the thing I don't get. Why do you even want to be on council? Why would you want to
Exactly.
do that? I don't get it. I don't get it. I mean, I get the idea of serving your people, want to make change. That's maybe good, you know. But what a job, man. What a tough job. I tell you what. And I don't know. It's not
Obviously,
monetary. Well, for some people it
no.
is monetary.
For some people that
Yeah.
are, getting by on,
Yeah.
your EBT and
Yeah.
getting by on your beadwork sales or whatever,
Yeah.
council sounds like a pretty dang good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it don't
You,
seem like you got to do much. You
you
just say
go to
yes
work
and
two
no.
days a week, yay, nay.
Yeah.
It's like it's like on Gladiator.
Yeah.
Nay,
Yeah.
kill, kill, kill. That sounds easy enough.
Oh man. So
No,
crazy.
but see, there's this quote. I guess it was some old Greek philosopher or something. I can't remember who he was, but I remember
Yeah.
what he said.
Yeah.
It's a it's a it's a meme, but
Okay.
it's an intelligent meme.
Okay. All right.
Those who desire power are not fit to hold it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And really is, ambition shouldn't be your only qualification.
Right. Right. That's right.
Right.
And I think that's true with not only tribal council, but department head, executives. I think
Yeah.
that's true with all those.
And
If we
and
had a
see,
sense, yeah, go ahead.
and just going back to me and where I want to take my career. I don't want to be an executive manager just so I can be the boss,
Yeah.
because that sounds ridiculous just coming out of my own mouth. But to create
And it does to a lot of
organizational
other people too. No, I was kidding.
to create organizational change,
Yeah.
to help our tribal organization become something better, more
Yeah.
efficient, a little
Yeah.
more innovative,
Yeah.
and still more culturally viable,
Yeah.
and to help sculpt us into something that we probably needed 90 years ago.
Right. Right.
Right, because we started off doing it like those guys,
Yeah. A
and
bit
we've been
rough.
pretty much, I mean, there's been some pretty good, the mission statement of CSKT, the main mission statement is be guided by traditional principles and
Hmm.
values.
Yeah. Boom.
That's the main mission
Yeah.
statement right there.
Yeah. 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 And
But
okay, go ahead.
go ahead. No, go
No,
ahead.
I was gonna say, and then it goes back to, well, what are those traditional values?
Yeah.
I
But
don't know. Yeah.
honestly, do we look like that right now? Do we really look like, if you look at the CSKT organizational structure,
Yeah.
the entity of who we are,
Yeah.
how traditionally principled and valued
Yeah. Well, one
are
of the
we? Now, there's some good things. I'm not going to sit here and bash my own
yeah,
tribe. There's
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot of good stuff.
yeah,
Like the department I work for, that mission statement is, um, uh, helping people is a way of life.
yeah,
Because that's the department I work in. We're a human service department, and
yeah,
it's not just your job; it's your way of life.
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah.
like that, and I really appreciate that, and I think that embodies a traditional principle.
Agreed. Yeah, we better cast that out there as a disclaimer. We're not bashing nobody. We're just discussing. We're just discussing. So hopefully anybody listening won't take offense.
We're not making council memes.
We're not making
Oh,
council meetings.
hey, I'm at the wrong podcast.
This is
I'm
the
at the
wrong
wrong
one. Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. Oh man. Now I forgot what I was gonna say. There was something important to
No, no,
that
no.
though.
You disclaimer.
Oh yeah, that was the disclaimer. Yeah, just want people to know that, we talked about a few departments, tribal council. We're not trying to bash. We're just saying how we feel, and that's important. But this is the thing I was thinking about was so the whip used to be a traditional form of governance. And if that mission statement holds true, shouldn't we be slowly inching back toward that? But then I'm arguing against myself at the beginning of the podcast where I'm saying, well, shouldn't we also be allowed to evolve our values and how we enforce or encourage or manifest those values? We ought to be allowed to evolve those to meet the present.
Yeah, like you said, like the introduction of the horse.
Yeah,
we didn't have the horse.
Yeah,
The horse technically wasn't a traditional thing.
Yeah,
but it helped us and hurt us in a way, because like you said, it got us into a little more trouble with the warfare.
Yeah.
And the horse stealing days, and that, to me, that can bring glory, but that can bring pain.
Yeah.
So there's positives and negatives there.
Yeah.
But the people evolved with it.
Yeah.
Anyway, became, well, that's who we are now. We're horsemen.
Yeah. So I guess my thought there is that, when you read that mission statement, really what is the traditional value that we're trying to get to? And and we'd run the danger oftentimes of looking to the past. I mean, value is a value that seemed like it doesn't change as we go through generations, but how we manifest that or affirm that, I think, is really like the tradition that affirms that, I think, is what sometimes we're missing. Because we used to have it. We used to have a process to affirm values, but we don't have that now. We have an American version, a watered down version of that. And so things aren't celebrated in the same way that they are today. We don't recognize people for deeds, good deeds, the way we used to. And that whole complex of doing that was a process of really affirming identity. And we lost that. And I don't see a lot of effort to try to bring something such as that, not that same thing, but something such as that forward to today.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think some of the answers there, though, Shandin, lie in some of the things we talked about, or the possible answers or pathways to, get to at least get to the place where you can possibly convince people that the decision makers that these changes are good and useful and beneficial for the organization. And it's cultural competency.
That's right.
Teaching people, and we can just rephrase that, learning about the culture, ways and traditions and life pathways of the people that you're working for. Working with and working for.
Yes.
And a lot of that comes through the information, and what we talked about again is the educational aspect of it.
Yeah.
And
that's a tricky one.
It's
a tricky one. It's a hard one.
But then it goes to that balancing act.
Right.
Well, we can take what we have from there, we can bridge it into what we have now and where we're going.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes through policy. The dreaded P word.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And it really does. But and so someone like me who is looking at executive leadership somewhere down the road, I'll be looking at those things.
Yeah. Now, I think that's one of the problems. It's not something that can be solved immediately, but we have to make a policy. If we have to make a policy to make people do and act a certain way, then I think we've already missed the mark. You know what I mean?
So that's it. You got to be tricky again. You got to word it right. You have to take a look at using the language not as in if you don't, you will get fired, but here's what happens if you do.
Yeah.
Instead of a punitive thing.
Yeah.
More of a positive. You
An
have
incentive.
to put a positive in.
Yeah.
You're going to be more valued to this workforce if you have more cultural competencies.
Right.
And that'll look damn good on your resume.
Yeah.
If you want a promotion, if you're looking to get higher up on the ladder, so on and so forth, it might look better on your benchmarks.
Right.
You might just get paid more in your own job where you're sitting now because your cultural competencies through the data that we collect is higher.
Yeah. And currently that's not rewarded.
No.
In fact, sometimes it can be a detriment.
Depending on depending on the situation.
Yeah.
You're going to be that mean Indian telling everybody that they're not doing it right.
Yeah. I was more thinking about, people trying to get cultural leave for things and then getting turned down. No, we need you here.
Yeah. But to institute it in a way, and all these words are ugly, institution, policy, just all this stuff. But to instill it into the culture of the organization itself, not the culture of the people, yes, but the culture of the organization, where the organization says, this is good, we all need this.
Yeah.
But in the culture of the organization where you have the workforce creating the value for it, you create the value.
Yeah. That's the key, I think. You're right. So yeah, man, this has been a great conversation. We've got what is your title? I didn't even ask you. What do you do?
So I'm the director of the Families First grant, Families First program. I'm the program director for that. So you would call that a program manager.
Okay. So you're on let me count the rings here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're the 6th ring down. You're pretty low.
Oh, way down there. Way down there. Oh, just a worker bee.
That's the place to be, the worker bee.
Yeah. What the good thing about managing a grant is, especially when it's money that really doesn't have a whole lot of stipulations from the feds, because it's federal money.
Right.
It comes down from the AFA or anyway, it comes down from the feds.
Those guys.
Lost myself there for a second there, but they don't put a lot of stipulations on it, and in the grant language, you just really have to meet topics and have to approach that topics and develop your own way into making those benchmarks. And so I've instilled programming, I think that wasn't called for, but what I thought was helpful. What did I do? I created a traditional arts class for families, where they could come in and pick projects and hire a knowledgeable cultural leader, come in, usually eat pizza or something like that, which is a little bit of the old, a little bit of the new.
That's right. That's awesome, man.
But I think it's something that helps. And what has happened is even the workers around my grant are like, hey, can I come to that class? And it's of course.
Heck yeah.
Of course, if you want to come and learn too, that's great.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, it boils down then to the individuals.
Yeah.
And so since I had that creativity, and I've instilled some other classes and stuff too, but I don't want to talk about that. But that's the individual aspect of what we're talking about. Is somebody willing to do it? Is somebody willing to put their money where their mouth is?
Yeah.
And just make it happen?
Yeah.
or we're going to talk about it all day and say, oh, that'd be a good idea.
Kind of like what we're doing here.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Here is the think tank.
Yeah.
Right. This
Agreed.
is the think tank.
Yeah.
And then, those ideas then get spread around and people start getting possibly motivated.
Yeah.
And so I really like being on your show, Shandin.
Yeah. This has been awesome.
I'm kind of bummed at Jason for dissing.
No.
Dissing out
this guy.
Weak sauce.
He is weak. I'm really mad at him. I'm mad. I don't think I'll look at him when I see him.
He's probably just real colonized. I don't know, watching football, drinking Coke, eating chips,
and wings.
He's boiling his wieners in his red wiener water.
Yeah, well, he missed out.
Yeah.
No, but you're right. I think you're right. This has been a great conversation from someone who's on the front lines, and a testament to something that I think is really important, that we can't wait for the leadership we have now to do something, because they probably have a lot on their plate. First of all,
yeah, maybe tied up.
maybe, and everybody's on a different level of what they know and what they can do traditionally. Yep. We got to acknowledge that, and we can't berate or belittle someone for just not knowing. I think that's pretty important. If we're going to be together in this, we have to acknowledge that. But I think it's great that you take what you know and try to get it into what you do. I think that's really important, and I think that holds a lot of merit to what you said about what can we all do as an individual to increase the cultural competency. If we create another person who has just a little bit more knowledge than we do, and get them a job, and imagine what they're going to do. They're going to do the same thing that you do, plus a little more.
And imagine
then if we have 10 other people like that, just starting out. Go ahead, say what you're going to say.
I was just going to say just how it really helps heal and bring not only individuals but different cultures and the community together.
Yeah.
And cultural. It to me, it can only make us stronger.
Right. And I think the one thing I get hung up on a lot, and I try not to, is authenticity of what we do. And I don't think I need to be there. I think if anybody's just doing something, whether it's not exactly what I think they should do, that shouldn't matter. And admittedly, I do that. I judge and think, well, that's not really sort of the way that we should be doing it. But it's something. And if it empowers one person, for the people that they serve, in your case, family first, if anything that you do is helping them to regain a sense of identity of themselves, man, that's a win, no matter what it is. Who cares if they're stringing up dream catchers? In a way, if you know what I mean.
That's not even our culture.
I know.
But I did it. I did it back in the day. SKC, one of my first cultural projects, was a dream catcher from someone else's culture.
Stringing up a dream catcher, yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. It's something. And everyone has an entryway into a point. And then hopefully they'll have those teachable moments where somebody says, well, this is not really the thing that we do here. Maybe try this. You know what I mean? And I think we rely on each other, and we should pull our guard down to accept that criticism or that redirection. And I don't think we're really great at that anymore. We put up our barriers, and we get ashamed and embarrassed about what we don't know. We get defensive about what we do know. And it's just this vicious cycle. It doesn't help anything. But man, this has been great.
Yeah.
This has been really good. We didn't need that bum, Jason. He would have just distracted us.
Matter of fact, we had a better conversation without him. Hey, jokes.
I hope he's enjoying his red wieners.
No, so hey, if I ever get invited back somewhere down the future, I'm hoping that he'll be there. I know Jason's got a lot of intelligent ideas, and he's a thinker, and
he is.
Yeah, I just really appreciate him too. But you are too, man, and I really appreciate this. So
awesome, man.
Thanks for having me.
All right, thanks, partner. You have a good evening.
All right.
Get to studying, and we'll see you soon.
Okay.
Une.
Une. Nimetweetstemensen.
Okay.